I.
Well, that's the Vietnam Veterans Against the War. Ich war hier in Deutschland stationiert und von hier aus nach Vietnam geschickt. Ich werde jetzt was vorlesen für 5. Juli 1852. Ein Exklave aus Amerika. Und er hat über Independence Day geredet. Und er hat ein paar Fragen gestellt. Was bedeutet euer 4th of July, der 4. Juli, für den amerikanischen Sklaven? Ein Tag, der in großer Ungerechtigkeit und Grausamkeit, dessen konstantes Opfer er ist, aufzeigt, mehr als jeder andere Tag des Jahres. Für ihn ist eure Feierlichkeit eine Scham. Eure stolze Freiheit eine unheilige Lizenz. Eure national groß geschwollene Eitelkeit. Euer Jubel ist leer und herzlos. Eure Denunziation von Tyrannen, musikalisch begleitete Frechheit. Euer Schrei von Freiheit und Gleichheit, hohler Spott. Eure Gebete und Hymnen, eure Zeremonien und Erntedank mit all euren religiösen Paraden und Feierlichkeiten sind für ihn bloße Bombast, Betrug, Verschleierungen, Respektlosigkeit, Heuchelei und ein dünner Schleier, um Verbrechen zu vertuschen, die eine Nation als Barbaren blamieren würden. Es gibt keine Nation auf dieser Erde, die schockierender und blutigere Praktiken schuldig ist, als das Volk der Vereinigten Staaten zu genau dieser Stunde. Und das ist 1852. Geh hin, wo du willst. Suche, wo du willst. Streife durch alle Monarchen und Despotien von der alten Welt. Reise durch Südamerika. Suche nach jedem Missstand. Und wenn du den letzten gefunden hast, lege die Fakten an die Seite der alltäglichen Praxis. Diese Nation und du wirst gemeinsam mit mir sagen, dass bei dieser empörenden Barbarei und schamlosen Heuchelei Amerika regiert ohne Rivalen. Okay. I just want to read that in English, very short. What to the American slave is the 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all of the days in the year, the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is a constant victim. To him your celebration is a sham, your boasted liberty an unholy alliance, your national greatness swelling vanity, your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless, your denunciation of tyrants brass-fronted impudence, your shouts of liberty and equality hollow mockery, your praise and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings with all your religious parade and solemnity are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy, a thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation on the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of the United States at this very hour. Go where you may, search where you will, roam through all the monarchies and despotisms of the old world, travel through South America, search out every abuse, and when you found the last, lay your facts by the sound of everyday practices of this nation, and you will say with me that for revolting barbarity and shameless hypocrisy, America reigns without rival. Thank you. Free Bradley Manning. Free Bradley Manning. Let's protect Edward Snowden and all whistleblowers and everyone in the United States military that's resisting right now the war. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I have the great privilege and honor to present Jacob Appelbaum from the Tor Project. Please welcome him.
Es tut mir leid, dass Deutsch ist nicht meine Muttersprache. Also ich denke, es ist besser, ich kann in Englisch reden. Und
Yes,
okay? Okay.
Yes, you can.
Yes, we can. So, I think that right now we live in a historic time. I think it's obvious that we live in a historic time. This is not something that, of course, anyone would ever want to deny, but the things that we see now with Snowden are things that many of us have suspected for a long time, that many of us have been dismissed as being paranoids or as being, sorry, all right. We live in a time, we live in a time that is historic and important for many reasons, but one of them is that the things that we have long suspected are now coming to light. This is to say that when many of us have been dismissed as paranoid or loony leftists or crazy right-wing people or whatever it might be about surveillance and about systems of control that flow from that surveillance, we now know that those things are in fact happening, and we understand that they happen without any semblance of due process, without any semblance of human rights as we would traditionally consider them. And we understand now that Europe and the rest of the world is in a sense under a kind of occupation, as we see with the Bolivian president's jet. When my president, Barack Obama, said that he would not scramble jets in order to intercept a hacker, it is clear that he has once again discredited himself, and he has insulted the dignity of the American people and the rest of the world. Just as with the political witch hunt in the Bradley Manning trial and the WikiLeaks grand jury and the persecution of people that would dare to speak out about things that are crimes, we see again with Snowden the same pattern repeating over and over again. We see massive amounts of injustice being revealed, where when we see that it is a crime to spy on a person without suspicion, without individualized particular suspicion, it is literally a crime. And when this is done on a planetary scale against all of humanity, this represents a crime against humanity. There are people who would suggest that this is not new, and they would suggest that there is nothing to be done about this. But these cynics are irrelevant, and we must dismiss them as either benefactors of this system, or we should dismiss them as people who are under siege. If anything, those that are under siege, we could dismiss them or we could bring them in. It is up to us to make this choice. But it is not the case that we have nothing to do. There are many things to do. Truth and reconciliation are possible in even the most horrible of circumstances. We right now are proof of this standing in Berlin. It is extremely, extremely important to recognize that what we can do, what we must do in some cases, is to acknowledge this exceptional time that we live in right now. If we are to acknowledge that, then we are to understand that we have agency. One of the agencies I suppose that we all have, each and every one of us, is to acknowledge that these things are happening. This is one of the great shifts that Snowden has brought forward. No reasonable person now could suggest that this spying is not total. And no reasonable person could suggest that the German government is not benefiting from it. And this conflict of interest, it is assured that with a conflict of interest like this, that people will simply not have the protection that their states allegedly provide to them. For the FBI to wiretap me, all of you are remaining vulnerable. For the BND and the BKI to be able to spy on each of you, so too are you vulnerable when you travel elsewhere or when you are here with merely a $30 cell phone. These kinds of things are trade-offs that are made in secret, and these kinds of trade-offs have been revealed by Snowden to be wrong, but also it shows us that Snowden himself has rejected the Faustian pact of this type of power. If we are to pretend that he is to be discredited, as some in America and around the world will do, we must recognize that he could not cause this much uproar if he did not have such a connection to such total power. How is it that he could spy as a whistleblower, literally, as an NSA and CIA person, how is it that he could get FISA court documents? How is it that he could have proof and evidence of these things if he was not part of a spying system that was so complete and total that it subverted the very fabrics of our democracies? So these things, they are true, and it is up to us to acknowledge that truth first. And secondly, it is up to us to protect the people that tell us these truths against the people who would abuse this. The revelations of Snowden are just beginning to come. If already the things that you see are shocking or unbelievable, what I can tell you is this: there is so much more to come. The truth is coming, and it cannot be stopped. I think that if I were to say just a couple of more things, I would say this. It is this space here that inspired me many, many years ago to come to Berlin. There have been so many people that have stood here and said things that were respectable and interesting and absolutely fascinating. And so I am sorry that when my leaders, and I say mine because I voted for them, because they allegedly represent me, when they have come here, they have embarrassed me and they have insulted you. And so, while I cannot make up for that, I hope that you can understand that they do not actually represent me. Not really. And they should not be insulting you on behalf of all of the American people. Because these people, they represent a threat to liberty and democracy and other buzzwords we can throw out there. But the reality is simply that they have an authoritarian power expansion, the likes of which we have never seen. And this location here, this embassy, to speak in front of it, for me, it's a kind of Schadenfreude. Where do we suppose that these NSA spying actions take place, if not in many of these embassies? It's clear to me that the American ambassador, who, as I understand, is soon leaving, there is no way that he could not know of these things. So a question Germany must ask the next American ambassador is, tell us now, will you continue your spying, or will you simply continue to expand it? I hope that it is possible for all of you to recognize that each and every one of you individually has the power to make serious change by simply acknowledging these things and then refusing to accept them. The use of strong cryptography works. I have spoken with Edward Snowden directly, and what I will tell you is this. By telling you that, I put my neck out there. And so what I ask of you is that you do the same. Don't let my government get away with this, and don't let your government get away with collaborating about this. Thank you.